Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the HollingsWorthless podcast. This will be for Wednesday, September 2nd. As always, I am your host, Big Irish J. Hollingsworth. And we have, first of all, the Black M&M, a.k.a. M Squared, a.k.a. M2D2, a.k.a. Manulus Romulus, a.k.a. Manny Martin.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Good to be here.
And Sean McCann.
There. Fucking thank you. Great intro.
Oh,
now
man.
we can end this without saying.
Oh, no. That's 100%
Okay, great.
So this weekend I did Kev's Keep Your Distance show. So this is a two-part question. I'll talk about the show in a second. Manny, how long has it been since you've performed? And then Sean, I want you to, from all your times producing and doing shows, I want you to tell the worst story. So you think about that, Sean, while Manny.
I got it. Go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear that shit. Let's see. So for me, it has to be, about 6 months, man. It's been. I mean, I did an improv thing yesterday, which wasn't. I don't consider that comedy, and I refuse to do. I mean, it is. It's entertainment, but it's not stand up. But then I think the last one I did was like Boise, Idaho, which was that was a minute ago.
What was that?
Jubal, he was headlining a theater out there. Yeah. So I featured. That was pretty sweet. But,
All right.
Man.
All right, now Sean, what's your worst?
So
He's like, this guy Big Irish was headlining.
This guy who was doing jokes of this other guy from the middle of the country, and
no, I was gonna talk about the maybe I don't want to do this one because maybe it's not as exciting. It's when so Parlor Live in Bellevue. When Ruben tried to hold me in the room.
Wait,
I was there.
This.
Yeah, you were there. But I'm trying to think of something better actually than that one.
Okay, maybe while you're talking, tell that story though. Now that you mentioned it,
Yeah.
so let's wait. Hold on
go
before you do. So Parlor Live Comedy Club in Bellevue, Washington. Sean helped open it, run it, and I original host was Justin Ruppel. Then I was the house MC, and then when I moved, Manny became house MC. So Manny and I both at different times were the house MC, and Sean again kind of started that club and was the booker and was basically doing it, and then kind of got weaseled out.
Yeah, dude, I was there when there was 2x4s, in that room. Was studs and no walls yet.
Man,
son of a gun. I'm trying to remember how that thing started though, because I went back. How did that happen? I went back in that room. It was in the green room,
right?
At Parlor, and I walked back there, and it's you. You're back there, me and Ruben. And what did we start fighting about? It was What was that about?
I think I know what it is.
What
was it about? The people tripping off your hat. You wearing a hat?
Oh, I think it was. He would hold that over me. He'd always say something. It might have been. I thought it was something bigger than that. Maybe it was.
And I think you were basically telling him, hey, you need to check your boys, your security.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was, because security was giving me shit, but then Ruben would give me shit too, because that was a thing. Because he had nothing over me, so that was his he couldn't fire me. I didn't work for him, so that was always a thing he would say. Just at these moments, it was dumb. And so then we're talking about that back in the green room, and then my style is, dude, is I don't want to, you'll flip a switch, you know your own, who you are, and when you should leave a situation. So I was like, dude, I need to leave the situation. So I start walking out. You're sitting in the chair, and then he gets in front of me, in between me and the door, and he's like hold me in there. I'm like, dude, fucking move, bro, for real. Wrong dude. And he's like, picking his. He had this thing. He'd pick his stupid neck about stuff. I don't know. I think it was as every time he had a gay thought go through his head, he'd pinch himself to get himself straight again. This dude, yeah. Anyway, so if you've ever been to as a comedian, especially, you've been to Parlor Live in Bellevue, which doesn't exist anymore because he single-handedly made the Bellevue location and the Seattle location completely fail and close.
How do you do that, Sean?
I might get into some weird territory there. Okay. That's for another. That might be for another day.
Legalities.
Let's just say, dude, he was known as the tax man, but I'll move on. So he locked me in. He just hold me in that room, dude. And then I was like, and then he says, Jay, you need to leave. And I was like, Jay, sit the fuck down. And so I finally got out of that place. But then when I got back to my house, another piece of it is that we were neighbors. So
yeah,
I forgot about that.
It was this house. It was a 2-story house, and each level was a home. I lived in the bottom. He lived in the top. So then I get home, and he's got like this. He had this bad habit, dude. He left a Safeway bag, like a grocery store bag, and it was filled with 2 Diet Cokes and like maybe like a pudding and some other thing I love, you know. But no, and not that I want one, but then there was no note with it either, and I don't want a note. But dude, it's just that dude was ridiculous.
Well, so hold on, give some context. So that was his way of trying to make peace after he tried.
Yeah, that's how he was. He was like the most passive aggressive dude. But yo, he was super aggressive about the person he was speaking about when they weren't there. I mean, something happened between him and Todd Glass that was just like nutty. I got to remember some of these stories, dude.
Yeah,
he said, dude, Todd Glass came back to that DJ booth and just fucking laid into Ruben. Yeah. Everybody was in there.
Were you there, Manny?
I remember Todd Glass being on stage being like, these lights are too bright. And then he would just like, you know, he made the DJ, I think it was Aaron at the time, dim it. And Ruben didn't like that he was dimming the lights and that he was having all these, he was a comic and all these comics were in the green room talking to him. And he would just, I think Ruben just wanted to be in control so much that he literally just lost his shit from not being able to control everything in that room and everybody. So I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Do you remember when he made Calderon cry?
Yeah, poor.
You don't know about this, Sean?
Maybe no. I don't think so.
So Calderon is getting a guest spot. Anthony Calderon, great comic friend of all of ours. Just a good kid. I used to be roommates with him. I love the guy. So I think it was his first weekend he was doing a guest spot. And, he's all excited. He's happy. And I forget who was headlining.
Brett Ernst.
Who was it?
Brett Ernst.
Okay. So Anthony walks in and he goes, man, it looks great. It looks like you sold it out. And then Ruben goes, come here. Takes him in the other room. He goes, don't you ever fucking say that. You don't know what we've done if we've papered the room. And he just went in on Anthony to where he fucking made him cry. Anthony came back like he just got back from Nam. He walks in the green room and he's just like, dude, and it was such a 180 from 2 seconds ago. He's like, fuck, man, it's packed. Looks like you sold it out. To then he just walks in like, I'll be over here if you need me.
Well, I heard a different story. I know you were there, but the one I heard was that, so Anthony was like, oh man, it's like sold out, yada, yada, yada. And like, it looks like you sold this place out. Ruben takes him outside and is like, don't ever fucking say that it's, sold out because you don't know what we had to do. So then Anthony goes back in the room and he's like, apparently I'm not supposed to say that it's like sold out. And then Brett Ernst is like, he's like, so are you telling me they're trying to fuck me over on seats? And so Ruben then goes in and lays into Anthony again, and it's just like, fuck, man. And then he was crying, and it's just like, poor Anthony, man. I thought he was going to be the host, after Jay. I was like, well, looks like I'll be the new host. So, fuck, man. But he didn't deserve that shit, man. Ruben was always on just, like, some other shit. I mean, like I said, like, when we were in Alaska, this is like, probably about a year ago, him and John Slayton almost got in a fist fight because he was trying to throw his weight around and he didn't have anybody that he could control at that point. You know, it's like Jubal's your boss. You don't have anything over me now. I'm not your host anymore, you know. And then it's like the only person you can shit on is John, and John was like, "Fuck that! Let's go outside." And it looked like they were about to fight. So I was like, "Fuck, man."
See, dude, that was always the problem. That was always the imbalance when you saw Ruben in the context of Parlor. There was two things that would happen in your head. A, who the fuck is this dude? And then the other one is he's got all the power of the club that everybody wants to perform and hang out at. Like, you wanted to hang out there, you want to perform there, you want to book there, you want to produce there, you want to do all of it there. And he knew that. And dude, he would wield that shit like in the worst ways. I've seen the way he talked to comics, how he dealt with comics.
Like, I mean, I built 2 wood floors. Remember that shit? So
wait, what was it?
So I built a wood floor with him because I was, you remember that
fucking
shit?
Manny was, you're too fucking nice, Manny. I've told you this for the longest. Manny, so if you're new to the podcast or Manny, don't know Manny from being on here or whatever, Manny is literally like one of the nicest dudes, and Manny doesn't like conflict, which I get it, and, but it's to his detriment, where it's like, if he's presented with something where he's like, I really don't want to do this, and this is going to waste my time, or I could just fucking, maybe I'll hurt the person's feeling. It was like, Manny will just be like, oh, fuck, all right, I'll build this guy a house if he'll be happy.
Dude, and that's the thing. He was building it for his girlfriend at the time, and he was like, well, none of my friends are going to help me do this, but you're my friend, and, you're going to come over and help me, right? And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of free time. He was like, well, I need help tomorrow. And I was just like, God, I kind of need to, like, work my way in the club to get stage time. So I built that one, right?
Whoa.
Yeah. And then, get this. Years later, when my cousin was living with me, he was like, hey, I need to build, a wood floor for my man cave. You know what? You should bring your cousin over. I'll pay him, but I'm not going to pay you because you're my friend, and friends just help each other out. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. He was like, I take care of you, you take care of me. And so I was just like, my cousin needed the money, so I was like, fuck it. I went over, we built the floor. He didn't pay my cousin anything. So I paid him out of my pocket. I was like, ugh.
Oh my God, Manny!
It's so bad.
Sean,
way, man.
How would you have handled that, Sean?
Well, no, I'll tell you. This is how how would I handle that? Right. But I'll tell you this. I don't even have to say. But I'll tell you this. There's that side of it. But then, in order for me to book a show at the Parlor Live, let me just throw something out real quick before I tell you the rest of that story. Yeah. I want to talk about 2 words, and I want to speak to their definitions. One word is libel, and the other one is defamation. I just want to throw these 2 things out. I'm fully aware of what both of those things are.
Yeah.
And to defame somebody is to say something about somebody that is not true. And, so it's like, dude, I start telling people that, Jay, you go around punching little kids in their face and stealing their bikes. And I keep pushing that agenda. You can do whatever you want with that. So I'm just saying, I understand those 2 words very well. Here we go. In order for me to book a comic at Parlor Live, which Ruben was the GM of, I had to, and he got paid as the GM very well. Well, actually, now that I look back at it, not very well at all. But anyway, I used to think it was. But he got paid pretty well. And then I would have to pay him to bring a comic in.
Oh.
So
give an example, like
sure.
numbers wise, and I'm not saying like this comic would make this much. You know what I mean? Nope. Just give an idea of like how the numbers thing would work.
Yep. So it'd go like this. Let's do a comedian that's
me. Let's say me.
Grand. No.
Sure.
Let's do. Okay, fine. So 10 grand. So 10 grand for the weekend if we're doing you. So I'll keep it at like a reasonable level. So 10 grand for a weekend. That's Thursday, 1 show Thursday, 1 show Friday, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 5 shows total. So $250 250 people was considered, 260 was considered sold out, I think, and it would hold to 320, I think, if we stuck him in there.
Yeah.
So it would go like this: $10,000. I would have to pay him 14. So
wait. Pay who 14? And how does that? What does that look like? How does that work?
Yeah. So you'd have to take so you can't use comedians individually. You'd have to look at things in a group. So you can make more to recoup some of the less you made on another one, right? So for instance, you have a really big headliner that everybody knows, right? And so you can't put much more on it because it's already up there. So it starts to not make sense for the club. So then on the next one, on somebody who is heard of but is more like a comedian that people love, but he's not like maybe a name. Mm-hmm. That one you would puff the price up big too. That way you could recoup some of the money that you lost on this one. So it's like it would be like this. I would get the comedian for 10 grand, and then Ruben would charge the club 14. I'd get a check for 14 and kick him back 4 grand of it.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense.
And then the comic / agent has they know nothing because they're getting the 10 grand that they originally said that's their price.
That's right.
Wow.
So I'm just gonna. This one's. I'm not gonna say numbers, but I'm gonna say this put me and Todd Glass in a bad way for a minute.
Oh yeah.
Because this thing happened, and he found out, and you can't explain to a comic why his price is this, but he only got this.
Right.
Because it was a numbers game in the club, and you're looking at you're not doing it by quantity, right? So it's not like you're pushing out a whole bunch of comics and just making a little bit consistent off that. I actually lost money on a comedian before, so I had to recoup it within there. So you're like, it's a numbers game, man, and it's all because of greed.
Right.
Because dude, I wasn't greedy on my side. I think I got what was fair.
Right.
And so yeah, but and then there wouldn't be much money left sometimes because he would take so much. Plus, he's getting paid. So remember that he's getting paid by the club to be the GM.
Double dip, and the owner of the club had no idea all this because all he hears is the comic's 10 grand. Ruben tells you or Ruben then tells the owner, hey, we want this comic, but he's 14 grand. So then the owner's like, here's a check for 14 grand, goes to you. Then you're like, okay, comic, here's your 10 grand. You're happy with that. Ruben, here's your 4 grand.
But let me ask you this: on just like a perfect weekend, how much do you think the club was bringing in as a whole? Because if you're thinking about drinks, food, ticket prices, and then also paying out your servers, I mean, how much do you think they were in the green?
They did really well. I mean, they did really well. I don't know what the numbers were because I never got into how they did drinks wise. He would never talk about that. But I will tell you this: that it was 4,000 more than the club. The club didn't need to spend that 4,000. They had already spent money by paying him his salary, so they're paying him for his service.
Right.
Now all of a sudden they're losing out. Essentially it's being stole from, by him getting that money on the side, and then I'm an accessory to it because I'm doing it. But I wasn't doing it to be sneaky. That was the rule. That's how it worked. And dude, I bet you can ask any other person that produced shows in there across this country. I know 3 or 4 dudes, but you could ask all of them too, and they'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah, I won't say his name on this, but one of the black producers who used to do the Sunday shows.
Him.
He said he was like, they're charging me crazy amounts to bring people in here. So
I talked to him, bro. We had a conversation it was years ago.
Yeah,
we talked about it, and I know exactly who you're talking about. And he was fucking him too.
Mm-hmm.
So I dropped the hammer one day.
Yeah.
I went in and I got the owner's best right hand man. I got a meeting with him and I took him down to the
I remember this day. I remember that day. And you had to take the bus there, right?
Yeah, because I was fucked. Because by the way, so Ruben started backdooring my agents, right? So he'd he'd go behind my back and he'd start setting shit up with them. So all of a sudden, I'm not booking shit anymore because he's going behind my back and going straight to them and taking his bigger cut off the top of that. So then now I'm at a place where I had to walk into Parlor and I had to beg him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember this.
Even as a security guard or as a fucking cook. That's where it went. And you have to remember, dude, the only reason, and he told me no, by the way. But the only reason, this is one of the big things, is that I used to have these comedy competitions and these annual comedy competitions, and he came to one of them, and he saw what we were doing there, and we had Schubert there, and Jimmy Schubert, and if you don't know him, know him. He's amazing. He's like a legend. But we had these different comedians, and we had all these 16 comics from across the country that came in and did all this shit and performed and all that. He watched it, and he only had 2 people that he had access to. And I'm not going to even name their names because I don't want to associate it with. So he had 2 comics that he could get, and that was it. So then he came backstage, and he talked to me about it. And we went up, looked at his place. When I got up to his place for the first time for first meet and greet and to go through it, that's when he told me to take my hat off for the first time. And I said, dude, remember, you called me, bro. You're the one that called me to come up here. I'm taking my hat off.
Okay, hold on. Because just knowing you, I would have loved to have seen that interaction. So you walk into the Parlor the first time. He's walking in front of you.
Yeah.
And now does one of the security people know? Okay.
No, because you have to remember, it's just a billiard hall at this point. It's not a comedy club. That doesn't exist. The comedy club was a bunch of pool tables. And so we go in there, it's sawdust everywhere, and go back, and he turns around, he's like picking at his neck, and he says, I'm always going to talk about it. And he goes, he says, yeah, you're going to need to take your hat off. And I was like, nah. And he said, and there's another guy there I went there with too, that I had a partner, that I would work with on things. We're not even going to say his name at all.
I just love, nah.
Yeah, he says, and I was already pissed because we had just driven 7.5 hours to get there. So it was a long ass day already, and I'm getting from that, not to a hotel, but straight to the club, or to this sawdust room. And so we go in there, dude, and I'm like, and he says, take off your hat. And I'm like, nah. And he goes, well, the owner's here, and we have a rule about hats. I'm like, bro, this place is closed. First off, you're not even open, and I'm not taking my hat off. Dude, remember, you're the one that invited me here. I didn't call you up. Mm-hmm. So that went back and forth, and I said, so here, how about this? We're not going to do business with you over a hat. We're out. We're going to leave. Let's go.
Right.
And the dude I came with, as I'm walking out, isn't following me. So I just walk outside because I'm a man, dude. No other man is going to tell me to take my fucking hat off, you dummy. So the other dude stayed in there and talked to him and shit, whatever. And then they came back outside, and he was trying to make up for it, and I was fucking pissed. So he called me a bunch of times on the way back down, when I got back home, trying to make up. So we had an understanding at that point, had a big conversation, understanding who we were to each other. And then it was fine for the first month or two, and I moved up because I actually moved my whole self up from Bend to Seattle. And then, so he had no access to anything. He was a nobody. He is a nobody. He had a moment to shine, and that's how he handles. He just burns bridges everywhere.
What's interesting about that is even hearing about the last festival that we tried to book, the agents won't work with him because I guess there's such a negative, just all this negativity around him and past history. So John Slayton actually had to be the person who was the go-between for the artist and, booking the deals. So pretty wild, man. It's like, if you just treat everybody with respect and, it goes so far. But there's so many people who don't want to fuck with you now that you probably have ruined your chance in the business. So it's sad.
Oh, he's done. It's over for him. He earned every bit of it. Dude, you're right too, man. Just be cool. Especially if you're a
shut the fuck up, Sean.
No, but for real, if you're a comedy manager, or if you've got power in comedy, some sort of power, and you have the keys,
yeah.
Do you know what you can do for people with that? it's not what people can do for you with that. It's what, dude, you can for real hook people up and change lives. He had an opportunity to be, amazing, to be a legend.
Yeah. It's, the sad part about it is I will always feel some sort of like gratitude that he gave me, a bit of the career that I did have, that I do have, but it came with a price, right? It wasn't genuine, so it's like, you did have to help him move how many times, you had to build how many wood floors, it's, just the shadiness, even when you catch like supposedly a friend in a lie and they act like you're not even talking to them, or they, it's not, you don't need people like that in your life. Just long story short,
no.
And that actually will. I'll get to it in a second. I was going to say that whole thing about, if you're in that position and if you're cool and the things you can do for people. Again, Kev, like fucking dude, Kev. I'll talk about that in a sec. But I want to say to you, or ask you, Manny. So you were the last one or the last host at Parlor, and then you were working with him while you were featuring or touring with Jubal.
Yeah.
Once that was all done, what's that been like? Has he been like, hey my friend, I have a pond I need built, or shit like that?
What's so funny is I had no contact, and it's sad because it's like, you consider somebody a friend, even, I'm the kind of person I forgive people,
You're so fucking nice.
I really am. And it's just like, as much shitty things as he did, to me, to you guys, I still, in my heart, I'm like, you know what? There's still a good person underneath, but I guarantee you.
No, he's the fucking worst.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you start to realize somebody's true colors when they start saying things like, talking about Boone poorly, talking about, like, for instance, Carl, like, you know what I mean? It's like you screwed him over, but it's like you want.
Nobody knows who you're talking about, Manny. So you got to explain who Boone and Carl is.
Okay, so Boone was his like right hand man,
assistant manager.
His assistant, assistant manager. Boone was there from sun up to sundown. A lot of times, working overtime.
Shit. Great
cool
dude.
As shit, man. Great dude. And would help Ruben through. Without Boone, there probably wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have moved as smoothly. But after and Aaron, right? But after after everything was said and done, it was really one of those things of he was just like, I don't like that guy. I'm like, Boone? It was like he still talks so highly about you, man. Like, why don't you like him? And it was because he felt like Boone didn't walk out the door with him when he walked out the door, And I'm just like, dude, this guy has.
He got fired. He didn't walk out. He got fucking let go.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, he got fired. That's right.
Yeah. So, and then the whole Carl thing, it's just like you try to distance yourself.
I'm sure Sean doesn't know the Carl thing.
Oh, okay.
I know who Carl is, but I don't know what happened maybe.
So Carl grew up with...
and people listening don't know who Carl is.
Yeah, I'm going to explain it. So Carl grew up with him in Germany. Good guy. But Carl tragically got in an accident and, they had to fuse his leg together. The accident was so bad. And he got a good settlement for it. And,
oh, yeah. You know where it's going, Sean. You know where it's going. Buckle up.
Ruben finding out somebody has money.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so found out, he had a ton of money and, he was working for this company prior to Parlor. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here comes the, hey, man, I could double your money. I could do this. And then the company folds. And so he loses his money. And I just remember getting a call one night and being like, hey, man, I didn't do anything. And, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you even talking about? He's like, whatever he did with his money is his thing. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't have anything to worry about then. You're good. And then, it just is like, it's always a thing of like, I didn't do anything. I'm not in the wrong. You're my friend. You're going to support me, right? And I'm like, I don't fucking know what happened, man. So my name is Bennett and I ain't in it.
Yeah.
So.
He was like, hey, Carl, I got this new tech company. It's kind of like a startup. It's called Grapple. I think it's going to go places. You want to invest?
That's pretty much it. And so, but it's you can't do that much wrong to people in your life, and expect everybody to still be by your side. And
well, here's the thing. Sorry, man, I was just going to say, for those listening, all of us that worked at Parlor in any way, whether you were a server, sound guy, a booker, a comic doing guest spots like a local comic, because he definitely treated the headliners that were coming in different than the other comics. Whoever, the assistant manager, Boone. It was a running theme that we all knew that you have to get in a fight with Ruben about once every month or two. And it's a major fight, and then you're good for about 2 months because his next fight goes on to somebody else, then to somebody else. And dude, I remember my fist was clenched, and were you there, Manny?
It was in the Ultra Lounge. It
yes.
Was it was after a show. I was like, oh shit. I was like, well, I guess we're done here.
yeah, that's right, dude. I just remember Ruben would always like fucking everything was at a level 1000 when it was a level 1 issue, but he would fucking and I don't even remember what the argument was about, but I remember being in the Ultra Lounge. I think we had just done an open mic because comics were walking by, and I was like, and he was like, keep your voice down. I was like, no, fuck that, and I was fucking ready to. I was like, please do one thing or make a move, but
yeah.
I remember yelling at him saying, dude, we're in comedy. The shit should not be this fucking stressful. We're in the comedy business. It's not that serious. Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
I had the same thing happen. It was me and Chris Rodriguez, and we were in the Ultra Lounge, and I was just like, I was ready to go, man. I was like, he basically was yelling at me to tell Jose Bolaños to move out of a booth that he was sitting in, and I was like, I'm sitting here about to do a show, and you want me to tell somebody to move? I was like, get your security guard to do that. And I literally was like, I'm done, man. And I literally looked him in his face, and I was like, I'm going to go work at Laughs. I'm good. I don't give a shit. And he stopped me, and he was like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm an asshole. It's just who I am.
I'll suck your dick.
No. I was like, dude, why is everything this stressful? It shouldn't be that combative. It's like, I'm just trying to be funny. I want things, that positive energy goes a long way in the comedy world. But I've seen him fight with everybody, sound guys, fucking servers, other managers, and I'm just like, what is it in you that just has to make everything that? I mean, you guys have been around the country. Like, are other club managers like that, or are they pretty chill? Or
dude, so I have like my top 5 like people that they run the clubs great, but then they're also like people I genuinely enjoy their friendship. Casey Courier out of Phoenix, he's the guy's they were just talking about him on Joe Rogan's podcast. Allie was talking about him, and they were all saying how great he is, and he's the fucking best. Jen from Laughs Unlimited in Sacramento, she said it's so funny, at a panel, there was all this industry and stuff, and everybody in the industry panel was talking about, it's the game now. You got to have your followers. You got to this and that. And Jen was the only person out of the industry that goes, I don't give a shit about your followers. That's our responsibility. Are you funny? That's all I give a fuck about. So all the comics fucking love Jen. Ryan Cott from fucking Boston, Massachusetts. Ryan Cott and all the clubs, and John Tobin and Norwest. I fucking get along great with Norwest. There's certain people that they run the clubs right, and they've it's interesting too, like what you were saying, Sean, that I said reminds me of Kev. So I just did Kev's show this weekend, and I think it was 2 weeks ago, Kev hit me up, and he asked me if I was available, and I said yes. And I don't and I've told this to Kev, and I've told other people this. When Kev asks me like if I'm available for something, I say yes, and then I don't ask what it is. I don't ask what the pay is, any of that, because I always know Kev is going to take care of me, and Kev also has my best interest. Like, he's not going to put me in a scenario that is going to put me in a bad light.
Right.
So I, like 2 weeks ago, I went out there, and he wanted me for a part in this commercial he was doing. And it was literally like, dude, I had like, I would have been on screen for maybe 10, 15 seconds, whatever it is. We get done. He's like, what's your PayPal? He pays me. I'm not going to tell you what he paid me. But I remember I was like, yo, Kev, what the I didn't swear because it was in his house out of respect to him. But I was like, I'm like, yo, what are you doing? And he's like, what do you mean? And he said, which, Kev has always been like this. He's like, we all eat. We all eat, which I think I can say that all three of us are kind of like that. Like we've all are like, if I'm good, we're all good, Exactly. If I got it, we all can get it. But his show Friday, Sean saw it. Did you see any of it, Manny?
No.
Or have you seen it? Oh, dude. I'm trying to turn my ringer off. This thing keeps going off. Sorry. So this was his third installment of Keep Your Distance comedy show. He asked me to be on the first, but I was moving on that. And it was amazing. Like all parts of it. One, I mean, you know that you miss stand up. So, and I was nervous because I'm like, fuck, it's been about a month or so since I did a guest spot. And I knew I was rusty and I could feel certain parts where I stammered or there was some rust, but being able to try and work it off fucking felt so good. But the other part that was so huge was seeing all the comics and just being around that.
Yeah.
And dude, I was like, oh God, yes. I want to talk to Kev about trying to bring one out here to Vegas.
Yeah.
Fucking dude, have him, same show, he'll host it and all that, but I'll just be an investor and be on it, and because we got fucking killers out here in Vegas.
So have you ever had this where you haven't done a joke in forever and you're in the middle of it and you're trying to think how it ends? And it's like you have these three dialogues going on in your mind. What you're saying right now, where the joke is going, and it's like, oh fuck, I don't even remember. So I was in the middle of a joke one time, and I'm just like, oh shit, I don't know the end of this joke anymore, and I'm slowly getting. I mean, it's funny how your brain works, but I got to it, and I was fine. But it was like, shit, it was scary.
Dude, that happened to me in the Seattle International Comedy Competition. I think the first time did I only do it once? I don't know, but I was in the middle of the joke, and I literally go, I don't know how this joke ends. Dude, I was like, what the fuck?
Shit.
Yeah, dude. Have you ever had it where you're hosting, Manny, and as you're saying the person's name, you forget it?
Oh my God, Michael Blackson. I'm like, oh, dude. So
just look at him.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. I was on stage, and I had said his name. It was like the last night he was there, and I was like, oh shit. Like, I'm saying the credits, and I forget it, so I just start coughing. I'm like, I was like, oh shit, my bad. And then somebody whispered Michael Black. I was like, give it up for Michael Blackson. And it was like, it literally, it didn't seem bad when I looked back on the tape, but I was like, shit. Because black audiences will never forgive you for some shit like that.
You're like, give it up for this motherfucker.
This motherfucker.
Dude, I had like, there was maybe in the however many years I was the host there, 2 or 3. I think it happened twice where I literally didn't remember their names, so I just went like this. Give it up for like that, because at that point it's so loud. I'm like, start making noise.
Yeah, exactly. I should have had a fallback where I was just like, give it up for your headliner.
Oh fuck,
dude, hosting is one of the worst things, but it's also one of the best things to learn up front. To be a good host and then to be able to transition into a good feature, a great feature, and then hopefully a headliner. But it's just like, I mean, I always respected your hosting skills because you didn't give a fuck. You were like, you know what? I'm going to treat this hosting set like I'm featuring. And you just go up, you'd be like, there's no crowd here. Fuck them. You know what I mean? I'm just going to do my bits and move on. I'm not going to do crowd work.
Yeah, I used to say I'm not a good host. They're like, people would be like, dude, you're the host of like the best club in the Northwest. I'm like, I'm not a good host. I don't care. I don't give a fuck about your birthday. I don't give a fuck. Anybody new here? Who gives a fuck?
Dude, it's so interesting though. It's like Sean brings up such a great point of like that place being run in the ground. It was such a great club, and if they didn't get greedy and didn't open up the place in Seattle, I mean, why would you oversaturate your own market? I mean, you literally were a multi-million-dollar club. If you just had it been like, okay, well, fuck it, we're going to go to Eastern Washington before, or we're going to go to Tacoma, which isn't necessarily saturating your market. They would have been okay, but it's just greed and people thinking that, they could do something. I mean, you move into a place that has never worked. So,
that's what I was going to say, dude. Yeah. That's the thing. That was some newbie bullshit, because if you lived in Seattle, like if you're from Seattle, you know for a fact that particular spot where they opened up, it has never worked. Dude, I have got like beyond fucked up at so many club nights at that place. There was always a one-off. Some promoter would just rent the place out.
Right.
The Fox Sports it didn't last there. This Fox restaurant, nothing ever lasted there. The way that place was built with the big beams that were all in the way, and then all of a sudden I had moved away from that place, I think, by that point. But like, dude, no, I didn't. I was still living there. That's right. I'd walk by there just if I could see Ruben in the window. That's right. That's right. But yeah, what a shithole. It was destined to fold. It was.
Yeah, man.
That's
But now we're in a place where Seattle doesn't even have really a club anymore. It feels like everything is gonna slowly, like somebody said they don't know if the underground's coming back. I mean, Laughs is gonna try to do its thing, but I mean, it seemed like the comics were trying to kill that. So we'll see, man. We will see.
I was going to ask you, Sean, out of all the years that you were doing, shows and everything, what's the worst? And you don't have to say the comic's name. Worst bomb you ever saw, and who's somebody that you had never heard of or whatever that surprised you, or you were like, "Yo, who the fuck is this?"
Yeah. Oh God, who was it that bombed the worst? Because I do remember. I know that this pops in my head that was really kind of affecting, because I remember this moment. It was like, I think it was September. It was like the third week or fourth week in September of 2010, right, or 2011. It was when Geraldo was coming the following weekend, and obviously didn't. That was nuts. And what was crazy too is that the posters that were made for that show was him kind of like standing. You can't see me, but he's kind of like standing straight up and down with kind of a sideways look, and it's all clouds around him, which was really kind of a weird prophetic poster. It was kind of odd. I do remember that the whole club was affected by that he was coming.
I think that I'm 99% sure that was the weekend that Bobcat covered and had the greatest. Bobcat covered for Geraldo passed away, and they had to fill it, so Bobcat Goldthwait covered. Great weekend with Bobcat, who I fucking love him. He's off stage. He's the best.
God. Yeah.
So at the Parlor, at the end of the weekend, they would ask you to sign your poster. So I hand Bobcat the poster of Bobcat, and he's like, "What should I write?" I go, "I don't know." So he just kind of writes something, and he goes to hand it to me. As he hands it to me, he just kind of puts his head down like, "Oh God," and I read it, and it says, "Thanks for the great weekend, Greg."
Oh God!
Fuck yeah!
Too soon.
Which he would love that.
Yeah,
Greg Geraldo would love that. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Second part of that question, though, Sean, who's somebody that you knew nothing about or whatever, and it just shocked you?
Brett Ernst. I do remember. I loved Brett Ernst. I thought he was amazing.
Yeah.
And not because you just brought it up, but I would have brought this up. Bobcat, his set was amazing. His fire truck bit, he's a very smart comic. He comes right out the gate. I know he always does, but he comes right out the gate and he just speaks to the elephant in the room, and he's like, "Yeah, you don't look the same either," So it completely now the whole Bobcat Goldthwait thing is off the table, right out the gate. He goes, real quick, and then he's done. But what was super cool, dude, was a moment for me personally is I was in the green room with him, and we're bullshitting. And I was at the time we were working on the 1 minute comic, and he was a part of that too, which was super cool. But we were talking about, he's like, "Yeah, I'm writing the screenplay," and and he wanted to bounce some shit off me. And it was around this thing. He's trying to figure out a way to end this movie he was doing that was basically about a father and his daughter who got involved with like an American Idol type show. And at the end of it, there's like a suicide, and he's trying to figure out like how to do it. And that movie is on Netflix, I think. But what was cool, it wasn't out yet, and that was like a moment for a nobody, no name, regular guy, me, to have that kind of a conversation with somebody like that. And especially when I was right in the middle of directing something myself, it made me feel like I was somebody. And I know he knows that too, because he's got kind of that empathetic bend to him. Mm-hmm. And so that was a cool moment. Did he need my input on that? Probably not. Probably had it pretty much handled. The guy writes a script in a weekend, literally, in his hotel room while he's out on the road, which is nuts. But dude, I think he knew what he was doing. That was pretty dope. Oh. That was fun.
Well, let me follow it up with Jay. Who are your top 3 weekends that you've ever worked with at Parlor?
It's interesting. This has turned into like the Parlor podcast.
Yeah.
Top 3. Fitzsimmons, because I got just a great story from working with Fitzsimmons. I'll tell it quick. So first weekend I worked with him, we're saying goodbyes. He's like, "Hey, great working with you. We got along great." And he was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Here, take my number." So I take his number. He goes, "If you're ever in LA, look me up. I'll see what I can do." All right. 3 months later, I'm going to LA. I text him, doesn't respond. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna fucking be annoying. Fuck it. He didn't respond. About another 3 or 4 months later, he's back at Parlor. Another great weekend. We go down to Seattle, Pike Place Market, all that. And end of the weekend, he's like, "Hey, do you have my number?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, if you're ever in LA, look me up or hit me up." So I go, "Okay, cool. And are you going to ignore me like you did last time?" And he's like, "Did that really happen?" I go, "Yeah, you told me to call you. I called you. You didn't answer." And so I just was like, "Fuck it." He goes, "Okay, cool. So it won't be weird when I do it this next time." I love Greg. He's a fucking, he's just such a smart ass. So it's great. Dude, there's so many that like great people Dwayne Goad, all mine are more like stories.
Yeah.
Dwayne Goad was featuring for Kevin Pollak, and Dwayne didn't know how to silence his phone, so I just start texting him one word, sentences one word at a time. It's just going off and off and off, and Kevin Pollak's sitting across from him and just is like, Jesus Christ. And then finally Kevin's like, "I'm sure that's got like a mute or something." And fucking old man Dwayne is just like, it's a new phone. I don't know. I had to leave the green room because I was fucking about to explode. And I just kept texting him. And we told Pollak like the next day, he was like, "Why would you do that? I thought this guy was a fucking asshole." That's a great memory. Oh, Jesus. Doug Benson, I wasn't even working there and was going to do a guest spot, and Doug Benson then started taking me on the road just from fucking talking to him in the green room.
Dude, that's awesome.
There's a lot. Alonzo Bowden, fucking, I don't know, dude. It's more, every weekend was pretty good. There's only been, 1 or 2 that in the 3 years, there's only been a couple that I was just like, I don't know about that. What about you?
I feel you. I'm with you. There's so many good ones, and there's like only a handful of people who are just kind of assholes at the end of it all. But Marlon Wayans, all the Wayans family, they've been super dope. Trying to think, David Allen Greer, that was interesting.
Yeah,
David Allen
Greer is awesome.
So I don't know if you remember our first interaction. But, I was supposed to do a guest spot that Ruben didn't approve. And then I literally went to the bathroom. I was sitting in the green room. And then David Allen Greer was like, I don't know who this is. Nobody asked me about a guest spot. I just want to get up and do my shit. So Ruben was like, "Don't go in the green room. Whatever. He's just, he doesn't want you on the show." And I was just like, well, fuck. I told all these people to show up, and now I'm not on the show. And it was so embarrassing. But then a few years later, it's just me and David Allen Greer. The feature, I think it was Jeff Lott, and he canceled. So I literally had to be host and feature for the whole weekend. So it's just me and David Allen Greer, man, and we're just chopping it up. Come to find out, he knows all my family members in the Bay Area. And so dude gave me his number. He was like, "Dude, if you ever want to go on the road with me," he was like, "I can't fly you there, but I could definitely get you paid," And so I never hit him up though, but I mean, we still text him every now and then. Good dude. So I mean, there's just so many great memories from that place, and it's sad that it all went to shit because of a couple people who just couldn't manage a business. But
Bobby Kelly, that was another great one.
Oh
God, dude. I fucking did this fucking from the very. I was all excited. I was like, fucking Bobby Kelly. I love him as a comic, and he just, anything I'd seen him interviewed, I was like, I think I'd vibe with him. I like his energy, all that shit. He's Boston comic, so I was like, I can't wait to work with him. Literally, my first interaction with him, he was like, he goes, what are the clubs or what are the crowds like here? When he asked me that, I thought he meant like, what is the persona like? And so I was like, they're kind of, they got money and they can be kind of stuffy, but if you call them on their shit, they'll be like, you got it. As I'm saying this, he's just kind of looking at me, nodding, going, okay. I'm telling him all this. As soon as he meant how are the crowds like? Is he selling well? So as I'm sitting there explaining all this, as soon as I stop, he just goes, who the fuck are you? Who are you to give me advice? You fucking nobody. I've been doing this 25 years. You fucking dipshit. I was like, oh, fuck. And then from there, like all weekend, bantering back and forth and talking shit. I fucking love Bobby. Fucking Bobby.
Was that the weekend that Plouffe was on? Because I remember we did a podcast. There's like a podcast somewhere. Yeah. And it was like me, Plouffe. I think, was it you there? And then, or
I don't think I was there that one, but I know what you're talking about where Bobby clowned Ruben.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of his first podcasts, man. And then, I think about fucking Bobby Lee and just being naked all the time. Jesus. Just, it's so fucking, just so many stories, man. Of like,
I'm not podcast.
I remember Gary Goldman's show, and the only thing I really knew about him was obviously the grapefruit bit. And dude, he came out, and you know how he is. He's just laugh after laugh after laugh, man. And fuck, he destroyed. God, that was amazing. Dude, I do remember that.
That podcast, that was so funny because Ruben had said something, or Bobby said something about Ruben like that was like fuck him. He's like, come on, what are you fucking doing? And then Kyle like laughed, and then Ruben goes, careful, to Kyle, and Bobby heard it, saw it, and called him on it. He goes, oh, is that your thing? Like you threaten people? Is that kind of like your thing?
Yeah.
No,
yeah, that's the thing.
Dope.
That's the thing.
Oh man,
I'd be remiss. Is that the right remiss?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word. We got to talk remiss. Thank you. I don't want to remiss this opportunity, but should mention while I was doing Kev's show, I get off stage and I get the all the alerts, and we're all talking about Chadwick Boseman dying, which fuck, man, dude. And then John Thompson just fucking died.
Yeah,
man.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck is going on with 2020, man.
2020 has been brutal. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's that one hit me hard. Chadwick Boseman. I mean, I'd seen pictures of him where he looked real sick early on, and I thought maybe he's just losing weight for a role or something. But man, it's like to have been battling cancer, doing all these roles. I mean, shit, and colon cancer isn't something that typically hits you that young. I mean, usually it's like, they tell you to get a screening at 50, and most people at 65 are like starting to see those effects. But it's just like, damn, man, it makes you question your health, and it's just like, God, I got to be healthier, try to eat better, and you just never know. So.
Dude, the thing, that and also Kobe's really hit me, and I wonder, and Sean, you might be able to speak to this better than Manny, if it's because of my age. And I'm like, these guys are younger than me, and top physical shape. I mean, I know Kobe's wasn't anything to do with his health, but and you're like, fuck, they got another lifetime ahead of them. And the Chadwick thing fucked me up, man. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Man,
what about you, Sean? Are you like, I don't know if it's the younger people.
I get it. Like, I equate this because I think there'd be a two-way street here. So honestly, I wasn't like a fan of his. I haven't seen a bunch of his stuff. I saw the Marvel thing, obviously, but I appreciate how people feel about him. Cause for me, on a much, much smaller scale, I felt that when Chris Cornell passed in May of 2017, that felt almost like a lonely ride because you had no people around you. The community wasn't like, oh my God, this is fucking crazy. Hey, this is the most liked Twitter thing ever. Hey, it was just like he died and we all kind of dealt with it on our own. And he was huge for me. So I can appreciate if I feel how I felt about that with how people feel about how this guy, all he did for his culture.
So yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. That's what I was going to ask you. Is like, is it more so because he's white that you care, or is it?
Right. No, that's a good question.
I just
yeah. Here's why.
Jesus Christ.
So if you don't know who Chris Cornell is, by the way, 'cause maybe people don't know who that is. Chris Cornell is the lead singer of Soundgarden and Temple of the Dog, and which are huge Seattle bands. Yeah. And if you know me, I'm all about like, Seattle stuff. Yeah, everything. I love Seattle culture, Seattle music. Not white culture. When I said culture, so like Seattle culture. And then for Chadwick Boseman, I think he did represent a huge black culture. There was a big spotlight on that for him. So as much, I agree. I think why so many people are saying things.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one thing that people fail to realize is that being black, we don't have a ton of like black heroes. It's like every time we have a black hero, they're always like killed off, right? So you think about Martin Luther King, you think about Malcolm X, like these were the heroes of yesterday. But then even moving forward in time, it's like who do you have? I mean, it's like Kobe wasn't perfect, but he was trying to do good things. I mean, Cam Newton, he was a good guy. Woo! I mean, yeah, now he's a Patriot, so clearly Jay now cares about him. But I mean, but he's like, it's so rare in our community. It's like when you find these people who are good people who are just doing stuff to help people and shine a light on the world, and then you lose them. It hits you a little bit different. That's why it was tough for me when Kobe died and everybody was just like, some of those people on Facebook were like, oh, good, a rapist is dead, or this or that. And, reading into it more in depth, you understand that, yeah, he didn't do right in that situation. But at the same time, you want to believe that he was trying to do good. And he was trying to raise awareness for women's basketball and all these other things that mattered. And so when we lost him, that was huge. And to hear people shit on him, and even, he lost a little girl in that was tough. But then Chadwick Boseman, who, we don't have a lot of history. I mean, we have history, but it feels like it's all buried. And we don't hear about it in textbooks, right? So then, you got even if he's a pretend king of Wakanda, that's big. It's like that was the first movie that had a pretty much all black cast. Even if white people were funding it, it's cool to see yourself on that bigger screen and that representation. So,
dude, Ryan Davis, who did the show with me Friday, and it was my first time meeting Ryan. I knew of Ryan as a comic and viral social media guy and stuff. Really good dude, really funny, and he posted a video. He said, I wanted to take the weekend to really process this before I said something. And he talked about Static Shock. Do you know who that is, Manny? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Static Shock was a black, like, teenage superhero cartoon. And he was talking about how, like, Ryan Davis was talking growing up. He had he was a big fan of Batman, and there's a couple others. But then when Static Shock came out, he was like, I think he said he was like a sophomore in high school, and he was like, holy shit, here's a kid like my age. I can relate now. And it's interesting because I look at it like just on the most basic thing, like Call of Duty. I play Call of Duty online, and you can select your character, right? They came out with a character that's an Irish dude, and immediately I'm like, I got my guy. Right. And so I always, it's like that's how I totally get where it's like you want to see somebody like you or to rep you. And I think I've seen almost all of Chadwick's movies. I saw 42, which was fucking tearjerker. Saw Marshall. I saw, of course, Black Panther. There's another one I saw his, but I was thinking, dude, I wonder if, first of all, what a fucking insane, just a man to never, you know, in the age where everybody's look at me, and you know, attention grabbing. This guy never fucking told anybody other than his inner circle, and just fucking, just, you know, hey Chadwick, are you just let's go, let's do it. And I wonder if it was because he was like, I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'm busting out these fucking amazing movies, and I'm not telling anybody because, dude, if they say, hey, we want to cast you for Black Panther, and he's like, okay, cool, just so you know I have colon cancer I'm dealing with, then they may be like, well, fuck, you know, we may want to do a franchise. And he was the perfect person for that role. So, dude, that's fucking, it's brutal, dude. I've thought about that so much at various times.
But think about, too, like, you know, in the reality of it, because we have to remember he's a human being. So he's not some, like, supernatural thing. So he had stage 3 colon cancer, not stage 4. Stage 4 is terminal. Stage 3 is on its way. I imagine that this guy, I mean, I just think of myself, and I'm not, you know, that's all I can think about is how I might react to it. And so, of course, I'm going to project my feelings on it. But, you know, maybe it's like, dude, I'm not going to die. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue making movies and live my life and not be a victim of the cancer. I'm saying that's how I'd speak to myself. You are a victim of it. But it's like, I'm going to change my mentality. Like, that shit don't exist. I'll treat it, dude. I'm here. I'm living.
Well, you know, go ahead. Well, I was going to say that brings up
that thought.
Yeah. I mean, that brings up a good point, because I'm sitting here thinking, well, shit, maybe, you know, ultimately that could have been what killed him in the long run, is that you weren't resting enough. You were burning the midnight oil, and sometimes your body does need the chance to recover, you know, and it's like, especially if your stage 3 is when it's moving to, like, I think it's moved to lymph nodes, which is, you know, but it's not 4 where it's moved to organs, right? So, but chemo on your body, all this stuff, and you're not, like, sleeping. I mean, I shit you not, you know, Quincy Jones looked just like Chadwick Boseman with that emaciated face, like super skinny, and he just didn't look right. And then, you know, coming to what's up?
Not
producer. Comedian, and you know, I'll be honest with you. Like, I had known Quincy for so long that, you know, he lies about everything. You know what I mean? And like would lie to me about little stuff. But when I saw him, I was like, dude, you don't look good. And then when he finally got diagnosed, and then later to see his chest split open and this huge scar, I mean, fuck, man. But the thing is, Quincy is still, I mean, he's doing all right now from what it sounds like. I mean, that chemo on your body can't be good. But at the same time, you know, at least he's had that chance to rest and possibly sleep. And your body needs that to be able to recover from all this shit. So, you know, I hope that in the long run, I hope Chadwick didn't burn himself into the ground with trying to overdo it, you know. So if anybody out there does get sick, just make sure you take that proper rest that you need.
Yeah, don't make any Marvel movies.
Yeah, let us get cast in those.
I bet he felt a huge responsibility. I wonder, especially getting 42. I haven't seen that yet, but I want to see it, and it's being re-released, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna. But I wonder if you get to a point, and dude, I don't know the Black community struggle, obviously. So this is just what pokes around in my head. But like when you start to get parts like Jackie Robinson and
Thurgood Marshall,
Marshall, right? Yeah, and all these important people. Then it's in your head like, yo, I don't have the right to slow down because I owe this to all of the culture. Yeah. Again, I'd be speaking if I knew something. This is how I might think. But maybe this is how an individual may think outward, though. Not that he owed anybody anything. I'm saying maybe that's what he put on himself. Because, dude, wouldn't you start to understand after maybe the second role, like, oh, I get this now. I get what this is. Well, I represent the thing.
Yeah, well, dude, you watch the videos of him and interviews and stuff like that, and he talked at, was it Howard? He gave a speech where he was talking about starting out, he got a role where he kind of felt a way about it, where he was like the thug or whatever, on like, I think it was like a soap opera. And so they called him in and they were like, "You're doing great. If there's anything you need from us, let us know." And he goes, "All right, well, my guy, like the character I'm playing, like where's his dad at?" And they were like, "Oh, well, he's obviously, or he's in jail or something like that." And he's like, "And then why isn't my mom able to take care of me?" And then they go, "Well, she's on heroin, obviously." And he was like, "All right,
Oh.
yeah." And so he talked about, like, in the same, I guess, idea of like how Denzel and different actors, he was like, "I don't want to play that shit," and by the way, they let him go the next day after that, after they said, "Tell us if you need anything from us," blah blah blah. But it's, dude, everybody that worked with him said he was just the best. Like, Marvel put out a video of what everybody was saying about him through the filming of the Avengers film, and they're talking about him present tense, like he's still alive, and it's you're just like, fuck, dude, the guy was just fucking unreal. You got to see 42.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say.
Oh, sorry, Manny, go, please.
Last thing I'll say is, you also, you have to tread that fine line, because you want to be like Kevin Hart, where you capitalize on a moment that you're bigger than life, and you're taking every opportunity, but you also don't want to be like the Parlor, oversaturate yourself to where people are like, "God, another movie with this guy," exactly. So it's like, you definitely have to be cognizant of, this might all go away someday, so let me try to get as much in while I can. So
there was a thing I read today, and you guys probably know this line better than I can remember, because I remember the idea of it, but he was on the Marvel movie, on Black Panther. I think it was Black Panther. Yeah, it would have been Black Panther. So, because he was in another one too, right? Mm-hmm. Wasn't he in like Infinity War?
Yeah, he was in 3 Avenger movies.
Yeah.
Okay. So, which I think is all I've ever seen him in, are those films, which he's fucking amazing. But, first off, there wasn't an African accent written into the film. That was because of him. He would learn the language the day of, and the dialect when speaking English, because he didn't want to be considered westernized, right? Because now that starts to pull away from the story that not only they're trying to tell, but he's trying to tell. Right. But this was the cool thing, is that there is a part, and I'm going to fuck this up, so fix it. There's a part where they're going to kill one of his people, or he's going to die. And so they were supposed to just like do something with the body. I can't remember what it was, but they rewrote it. And the guy, before he dies or before they kill him, says, "Push me." They said, "Kill me and throw me into the ocean, so that I may die like as my ancestors did," or something like to that effect. I don't remember that line. I read that today, that he pushed hard for that and actually changed the direction of that whole moment. That fucking line, whoa, that's some shit. And we're talking about a superhero movie.
Yeah, that was Black Panther. And I don't know if you said you saw the Avengers one. I don't know. Did you see Black Panther?
I did. I saw Black Panther.
Yeah, it's Killmonger, who was his brother, and after he defeats him, and that's what he says. Killmonger says that line. Yeah, fucking. I mean, dude.
Whoa.
Yeah. Dude, it just sucks.
But that's the legacy you hope to leave behind, is something bigger than yourself, and I think he achieved that in 43 years. And I mean, let that be testament to. Fuck, some people live more than 43 years than some people do when they're, in the entire 90. So,
dude, going back to that thing we talked about on the other podcast, Sean, yeah, like we were talking on another podcast. My friend Carrie Newman told me this was fucking 30 plus years ago. She just had I don't know, we were all fucking drunk and high and shit, but she was saying that one philosophy is we all have one thing that we have to do, or that we're supposed to do. Once we've done that, that's when we move on. And so, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Chadwick passing away, losing Black Panther. I mean, the whole thing, it just kind of sucks.
Just really what kind of sucks. Man. How long? And this is a moment.
5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay.
I've had it. I've had it. I'm like, not right now. We're still having our moment. I got to do it at the end. It's got to be a button at the end. If I do it now, we'll kind of suck if I did it right now. I love that Sean hates these so much.
You know how lucky you are that Manny's on this call on this show right now.
What do you mean?
That would not have got like. There's a laugh in the background right now.
Oh, that's
yeah. What kind of shit is that?
Yes, he's on board. He's fucking Wakanda forever.
So now we're just recycling the same stupid wordplay.
Yes,
got it.
What kind of wish it was Chris Cornell that we were talking about? I don't know.
No, boo and boo everywhere. Gross.
Oh, well, gentlemen, what are we plugging? What do we got to plug? Sean, you want to go first? You'll love these, Manny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you back on the road, Sean?
No, I'm not back on the road, but I have a live show this Saturday. You're going to have to Google it because I don't have the stuff here, but just Google it. But I'm actually going to Wisconsin to perform it live, which will be shown in LA. So it's that kind of thing.
What's it called?
What's what called?
The show or the place you're going to be performing?
Well, we were going to do it at the Wagon Wheel last year, where you get I think
the laughs keep on rolling.
Keep on rolling. So this time I'm going to be at the Hindquarter. And
the Hindquarter.
Yeah, it's this club out in Wisconsin, but the show is going to be projected to people here in LA. I live in LA.
Yeah. The Hindquarter, nothing but callbacks. Callback, back.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I mean, wagon wheel
at
around
the Mechanable.
At the Mechanable. All right, Manny, you got anything?
Yeah, so next week, let's see, Love in Black and White.
Okay, talk about it real quick. Do you want to?
Yeah. I'll jump into it. So it's the latest iteration of creativity and dating advice from both myself and Jay Hollingsworth. Basically, we'll be talking about relationships from a married guy's point of view and a single guy's point of view. So make sure you tune in for that. You can also catch me on Chatterbait and Jasmine Live, which is a cam service for no, just fucking
I was
around
like,
now.
what?
Dude, Chatterbait? Dude, what the fuck? I was waiting for you to stop talking.
Yeah,
okay.
But no, I'm really excited for that next week, which will be dope. So I ordered my backdrop and shit's popping.
Yeah, dude, I'm amped. Yeah, the fucking Love in Black and White. Manny's married to a white woman, predominantly dated white women. I'm single, predominantly dated black women. It's number one. It's going to be comedy, but it'll be dating, relationship. You got a scenario you want to ask and see how the married guy would handle it versus how I would handle it, the single guy. Email it in, bigirishj@gmail.com, and I'm at bigirishj.com. I have coming up Friday, I'll be in Phoenix doing a show at a drive-in theater. This is my first one, dude. I'm pretty amped. I have no idea, like, if they honk horns or flash their lights. I don't know. It'll be an interesting experience, but I'm excited for it. That is Friday, and then coming up in like 3 weeks, I'm going to be doing 3 weeks through Middle America: Little Rock, Arkansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Wichita, Kansas. So you can go to. I'll be flying there, and then once I land in one of those places, I'll be driving to the other ones.
How do you feel about that?
You know what? I don't know yet because I haven't done it, so I'm curious to see.
During election time, so that shit's gonna be interesting. So.
Good call. Good call. That's a good. Yeah, you're right. That's what all this is based off of right now.
Yeah, man.
Give us our fucking unemployment. All right. I think that's it.
Cool.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Bye,